Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tyler with the SEC Nation podcast. I know I didn't do a episode last week. I didn't have time to do it. This week, I'm going to be doing something different. Instead of post-game reactions, I'm going to be giving some pre-game picks. In a week or two, I'm going to be doing both post-game reactions and pre-game predictions. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel and like this video. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well. I'll leave a link in the description box. All right, week 4 of the college football season. This is by far the biggest week in all of college football, not just the SEC. To start it off, I'm going to go ahead and start with the big point spread games. So you got Southern Miss coming in to play Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, of course, is a 39-point favorite. The one thing I want to see Alabama do is improve their run game. Alabama hasn't run the ball very consistently. They only had 76 yards rushing last week and only averaged 3 yards per carry against South Carolina. Najee Harris is the lead rusher for Alabama. He only has 161 yards throughout the season, and he's only averaging 52 yards per game. That said, Southern Miss is not a very good defensive team. Alabama will most likely put up 50 or 60 on them. This game should get very ugly very early into the game. Moving on next, we have LSU playing at Vanderbilt. LSU is a 25.5-point favorite over the Commodores. Vanderbilt is still 0-2 on the season. They are coming off a bye. Vanderbilt is ranked last in the SEC in pass defense and 127th in the nation, giving up 332 yards per game. They gave up 509 in their last game against Purdue. This is really not a good matchup for Vanderbilt at all, considering that Joe Burrow is number 1 in SEC in passing yards. And it's also second in the nation. LSU is averaging 374 passing yards per game. This game can also get very ugly very fast if Vanderbilt has no way to slow down this LSU's pass attack. I think they will look better defensively than they did against Purdue, but still LSU has way too many weapons at the receiver position. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a big game. I don't know if LSU will cover the spread, but I do think they will win by at least 3 touchdowns. Moving on to Arkansas, San Jose State. Arkansas is a 20.5-point favorite over San Jose State. Arkansas looks like they finally found their quarterback for the season under Nick Starkel. Razorbacks had a huge offensive game last week, putting up 55 points, 21 points in the fourth quarter. Defense still needs some work, but that was a very impressive win for Arkansas last week. Luckily, again, for Arkansas, San Jose is a much softer opponent than Colorado State is. So, again, I think we'll see a lot of offense from Nick Starkel and running back Rakeem Boyd. San Jose State is ranked 90th in total defense and 101st against the run. I think Rakeem Boyd could have a huge game depending on how long he plays. He very well could come close to 150 or a 200-yard game. I think he's going to absolutely destroy the San Jose defense. And I think Nick Starkel, again, will have another big game. This should be a blowout win for Arkansas. Moving on to the California and Ole Miss game. This is a very tough one to call. California is not a very impressive team on offense. They're average at best. But this is probably by far the best defense Ole Miss will play so far this season. I expect a very low-scoring game between these two. Again, California is a very talented defensive team, led by linebacker Evan Weaver. They got Ashton Davis, the safety, and also a very good kick returner. And they got Jalen Hawkins at the cornerback position. And they also have Cameron Bynum at the cornerback position. It's a very loaded defensive team. This will be a very tough test for Ole Miss. If they have any offensive struggles like they did against Memphis, it's going to be very hard for Ole Miss to win this game. Again, defensively, Ole Miss really struggled last week, giving up 375 yards, 309 yards through the air. If Ole Miss does have a defensive performance like they did against Memphis, Ole Miss very well could knock off the 23rd ranked California. This is going to be a very low-scoring game. I won't be surprised if both teams are held under 25 points. I'm not expecting a lot of offense at all in this game. Ole Miss has improved since the first week, but this is a very good California defense. This is a very hard game. This is a very hard game to pick, but for right now, I think California has a slight edge. I might change my mind tomorrow when I make my official pick on my Instagram page. Okay, moving on to the Tennessee-Florida game. Tennessee is a 14-point underdog to Florida. This is still a pretty big rivalry game. These teams do not like each other at all, even though it's not been competitive in about the last 15 years. This is still usually a very heated game. What's very scary for Florida is Tennessee has absolutely nothing to lose in this game. And if they win this game, it completely turns around their season. That first week loss to Georgia State is almost forgotten about at this point. If they beat Florida in the swamp, that Georgia State game will either be forgotten about or nearly forgotten about if they beat Florida. This is Tennessee's Super Bowl. They're a 1-2 team. You lost to Georgia State and BYU. Now you beat a bad FCS team, but that was the kind of game you needed to get your confidence built back up. I think Tennessee will compete in this game. This is going to be they're going to give everything they have. They have nothing else to lose. They have to win this game, try and make something positive out of the season. So Florida has to be ready for this. They have to be focused. They cannot sleep on Tennessee like they did on Kentucky last year. If they sleep on Tennessee, they very well could lose this game. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying it's going to be close. I've seen a couple people picking Tennessee to win. I think that hurts Tennessee because it brings the focus up for Florida more. Now, since this is a rivalry, your first SEC game at home, I think Florida is taking this game a lot more seriously, probably any other team would. You cannot have the mentality of Tennessee lost to Georgia State and BYU. This is going to be a walkthrough win for us. You cannot have that mentality. You can't have that mentality against any SEC team, especially a rival. Now, we could see a completely new Florida offense than what we're used to seeing with Kyle Trask and Emory Jones are apparently going to be sharing playing time in this game, according to Dan Mullen. He said we won't see anything new. I think that's just a tactic to make Tennessee prepare for the old Florida offense. With Kyle Trask, he's similar to Felipe Franks. He doesn't have the arm strength, but he is more accurate, and I don't think he has the mobility that Felipe Franks has. But I think Kyle Trask is a lot more poised, he's a lot more calm under pressure, and he's a better decision maker. That being said, with Emory Jones, if he comes in, he's most likely going to run the ball the speed he has. But we have to be aware that he's a very good passer as well. Florida's offensive line has really struggled to get anything going in the run game. People blame Michael Pirine. I don't think it's really his fault at all. The offense has given him absolutely nothing to work with. Florida has been pretty much a non-factor running the ball this season. And with Kyle Trask, more of a passer than a runner, and look for Florida to throw the ball more than they would run. Look for more receiver screens and underneath routes. The only problem with that is the pass defense for Tennessee is their biggest strength so far this season. They're only giving up, I think, 149 passing yards per game. I believe they're ranked 12th nationally in pass defense. They're somewhere in the top 15, top 20. But what Kyle Trask did for Florida last week, I thought was absolutely huge. You're down double digits to Kentucky. You got dominated for 2.5, 3 quarters. Your starting quarterback goes down. He's asked to be the next guy up, and he came up absolutely huge, putting up 19 unanswered for Florida. The last touchdown wasn't him, but again, that last touchdown does not happen if Kyle Trask does not rally his team down the field to score the 2 touchdowns before that. Tennessee, again, is a talented team, and I believe, and a lot of other people believe, they're a much better team than the team we saw in the first 2 weeks. But my biggest issue is with last week. Yes, you got to win in dominating fashion, and of course your starters did not play the whole game. But you only had 360 yards against a bad Chattanooga team. Now again, your starters did not play the whole game, obviously, but 360 yards against the FCS team is close to what you would like to see at the half, not throughout the whole game. Now this could just be nothing, but I've seen Tennessee fans say if we play as well as we did against Chattanooga, we're going to beat Florida. I don't think that's smart to compare Chattanooga to Florida because Chattanooga is not even from the same planet as Florida. A completely different competition. Like I said, not even on the same planet when you're talking about the strength of an opponent. And your 2 losses against Georgia State and BYU, you really struggled at the line of scrimmage, mostly in the Georgia State game. And Florida has had one of the most dominating defensive lines so far this season. They still lead the nation in sacks with, I think it's 16 now. They lead the SEC in tackles for loss. If Florida is able to get pressure on Garantano the whole game, I think Tennessee offensively is going to struggle. I think that's what it's going to come down to, is if can Tennessee move the ball? Can they force mistakes from Florida's offense? Can they shut down the Florida pass game and force them to run the ball? If they can, then Florida's going to have trouble offensively as well. I don't know if Florida covers the spread. I like Florida in this game though. I don't think Tennessee has the offense to keep up with Florida for 4 quarters. I think it will be competitive. It could be close. At worst, I see Florida winning by 10. I think they win more between 4 to 7 points. But Florida's defense wins this game for them. I also wouldn't be surprised if this game is very low scoring. Both teams under 25, 30 points. On paper, Florida probably should win by double digits. But again, this is a rivalry game. Tennessee and Florida really hate each other. Tennessee really hates Florida. Tennessee's going to do everything they can to turn their season around, and they're going to probably give the best performance of the entire season in this game. Florida has to be prepared, or they could very well get upset. We have seen crazier upsets than this. Florida's defense wins this game for them. I don't see Tennessee's offense competing with Florida for 4 quarters. Okay, moving on to South Carolina, Missouri. For some reason, Missouri is a 9.5 point favorite in this game. I have no idea why. No disrespect to Missouri, but I just think South Carolina is a much better team now behind Ryan Hilinski. I think Ryan Hilinski has completely changed the offense for South Carolina. Now I don't think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC, but he's a huge step up compared to Jake Bentley. However, what can really hurt South Carolina is their defense. A lot of mistakes last week against Alabama with missed tackles and penalties. You can't have that against a very good Missouri offense behind Larry Roundtree and, of course, Kelly Bryant at quarterback and Kelly O at tight end. Again, I'm not seeing this amazing defense Will Muschamp talked about. They're ranked 13th in the SEC against the pass. That is really scary when you're going up against a quarterback like Kelly Bryant, who can hurt you with his arm and his legs. Missouri is number 2 in the nation in pass defense, only giving up 95 yards per game. They haven't really faced a quarterback nearly as talented as Ryan Hilinski. First game against Wyoming. Wyoming is more of an option team that likes to run the ball a lot. I think this is going to be a dogfight game. I don't see Missouri winning this game anywhere close to 9 points. South Carolina very well could win this game. They have to win this game if they want to save their season and become bowl eligible. This is a huge game for South Carolina. This is the kind of game they have to win because of that North Carolina loss. This is the kind of game you have to steal now. If you want to save your season, win 6 games and go to a bowl. I think this is going to be a shootout. I would not be surprised if both teams score over 40 points. Right now I have Missouri win this game by about 4. But I could change my mind between now and tomorrow. I would not be surprised at all if South Carolina wins this game. Okay, moving on to Kentucky and Mississippi State. Kentucky playing at Starkville. They're 6.5 point underdogs. Now, I know Tommy Stevens was not healthy at all last week. Mississippi State's performance against Kansas State really bothered me, especially the offense in the 4th quarter. Gave up 14 unanswered, which cost you the game. Garrett Schrader wasn't bad. It could have been worse and it could have been better. The 2 quarterbacks combined were 11 for 27 for only 151 yards. Tommy Stevens had 3 turnovers before he got taken out. Some very bad turnovers, especially when he dropped the ball in the scramble. He got to tuck the ball away. Kansas State is a much more improved team than they were last year, but I really did not like this loss from Mississippi State. And now with Kentucky, is Kentucky going to have a hangover after the heartbreaking loss to Florida last week? Are they going to come in ready for this game? This is a rivalry game, hostile environment at Mississippi State. This is going to be a very tough game for Kentucky. Sawyer Smith looked better than a lot of people expected him to look against Florida. He did have 3 interceptions. 2 of them weren't completely his fault. The second one, it's a miscommunication between him and the receiver. and the last one was a Hail Mary, though those are intercepted very oftenly. So it's not like he was throwing interceptions throughout the entire game. That first one he had in the second half, that one was pretty bad. That almost was almost a pick six. He did make some mistakes, did fumble the ball on their first drive, but I thought he looked a lot better than a lot of people thought he would look. This is what makes this game hard to pick. Is Mississippi State is 13th in the SEC in passing offense. Kentucky is 12th in the SEC in passing defense. I believe Kentucky is only 8th against the run, and you have weapons like Tommy Stevens can use his legs if he's healthy, of course. You have Kylan Hill leading the SEC in rush yards. Obviously, he's going to be a huge factor in this game. Kentucky can't do anything to slow him down. I do think Kentucky is a very underrated team. I don't think they've dropped off like people said they would after last year. Now, they're not as talented and they're not as good as they were last year, but they are not a bad team at all. They got weapons at wide receiver like Wagner and Bowden. They have an elite offensive line, one of the best in the country, really. They're at least one of the best in the SEC. I'm kind of leaning towards Kentucky getting the surprise win in this game. I think this is a toss-up. It's two very similar teams. I really didn't like what I saw from Mississippi State offensively, but if Tommy Stevens is just a little bit healthier than he was last week, if he can play and throw the ball well and run the ball well, Mississippi State's most likely going to win this game. They may not even need Tommy Stevens or Garrett Trader to throw the ball well. If Kentucky cannot stop Kylan Hill, they, again, are most likely not winning this game. Mississippi State defensively has also been very inconsistent. That's why I like Kentucky in this game. I think Kentucky's offense is very underrated. Again, you have Wagner and Bowden at receiver. Sawyer Smith is better than people think. You have A.J. Rose at running back. He's a very underrated running back. And you have a very strong offensive line blocking for you. So that's a big reason why I have Kentucky winning this game for right now. I think it's going to come down to what defense can step up. And Mississippi State's defense so far this season has just been way too inconsistent. And I don't think Tommy Stevens is going to be fully healthy for this game. That's also going to come into effect for why I think Kentucky will win. Okay, moving on to number 8 Auburn, visiting number 17 Texas A&M in College Station. A&M is a 4-point favorite over Auburn. We got two very good defenses going up against each other. Texas A&M really struggled to protect Kellen Mond against Clemson, which caused Kellen Mond to struggle heavily and make bad decision making and wasn't able to read the Clemson defense. If Texas A&M has a game like that again, where Kellen Mond again is making bad decisions, it's not reading blitzes, Auburn wins this game. Maybe they might easily win this game. That's no disrespect to Texas A&M. Auburn is just that good defensively. I'm still making the argument Auburn has the best defensive line in the country behind Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, Big Cat Bryant, and Nick Coe. Now, the problem is with Auburn, they really haven't shown much offensively behind Bo Nix, only completing 52% of his passes. I believe Auburn is ranked last in passing yards in the SEC. They're either 13th or last. Either way, it's not good, especially against Texas A&M is surprisingly one of the best pass defenses in the country. They're ranked 3rd in the SEC in total defense. I believe they're ranked 3rd. They're somewhere in the top 5 in the SEC in pass defense. I believe they're ranked 3rd in interceptions. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. Again, Auburn offensively, outside of Bowie Whitlow, does not have much going for them offensively. Bowie Whitlow is having a very good season so far, and Texas A&M doesn't have much in the run game, but they have a lot of weapons at wide receiver, and they have Kellen Mond at quarterback. I like Texas A&M in this game, mainly just because I can't see Auburn's offense beating Texas A&M's defense for 4 quarters. Now, I do expect Texas A&M to also struggle offensively in this game. I think it's going to be very low scoring. I would not be surprised if both teams are held under 20 points. Texas A&M has the edge offensively in this one, and that's what's going to give them the win in this game. All right, moving on to the last game of the week. The college game day will be at this game. Number 7 Notre Dame going to Athens to play number 3 Georgia. Georgia's a 13.5-point favorite. As big of a matchup as this is, and how highly ranked these two teams are, it's a little hard to figure both teams out since they really haven't played anyone at all. Notre Dame's best opponent was Louisville, and Georgia's best opponent this season was Vanderbilt. Now, what's very concerning for Notre Dame is they're ranked 120th in the nation in run defense. If their defense plays that poorly against run against Georgia, they have absolutely no shot at winning this game. If they will stack the box, slow down the Georgia run game, and force Georgia to throw the ball to some inexperienced receivers, this could become a very good game. It could become a dogfight. No pun intended. Georgia is playing by far the best offense so far this season with Notre Dame behind Ian Book, a very talented Notre Dame offense. I think Georgia offensively just needs to stick to what they do best. That's put the ball in your best player's hand with DeAndre Swift, who's averaging, I think, 8 yards per carry, somewhere around there, behind what's arguably the best offensive line in the entire country. If you do that, just running the ball, pound the ball at this Notre Dame defense and wear them down, Georgia should win this game. I don't think it's going to be a 2-touchdown game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. If Notre Dame can't slow down Georgia's run game, it's not going to be close. But I think they will contain it. They're not going to slow it down. They're not going to stop it. But they're going to do everything they can to at least contain the Georgia run game, force Georgia to throw the ball more than they probably want to. Defensively, I do think Georgia will also slow down Notre Dame's offense. I don't think they'll completely shut it down. They will slow it down, and they're going to make it very difficult for Notre Dame to move the ball and score some points. Now, again, playing in Athens, in Sanford Stadium, a huge advantage for Georgia. Again, a hostile environment, a night game, college game day is there, national spotlight. This is a huge game for both these teams if they want to make it to the college football playoff. Again, I think Georgia will win by around 7 to 8 points. I do think Georgia wins this game, mostly because of the ground game. All right, that's it for my show today, guys. Comment down below if I got anything right or if you disagree with me on any of my picks. These are not my official picks. I'll be making those tomorrow on my Instagram page. I'll have the winner and the score for every game this week. This, again, a huge week in college football. I hope you all enjoy watching these games this week, and I hope you all have a great weekend.